Hello, in this lesson we are going to cover what is cryptography. We've talked about cryptocurrencies and how one of the foundations of cryptocurrencies is cryptography, and it's one of the foundations of blockchain and several other applications. Essentially, cryptography is a mathematical algorithm to secure data. So we can end the video right here and not talk more about it. Now, I'm joking. We are going to cover a lot more about it. First of all, it's been around for thousands of years. It's not a new concept. It's transformed over the years. It's helped win wars as well. And essentially, cryptography is an amazing system. First of all, let me start off by using a simple example which is not secure. So imagine if we have person A, they write a letter and they send it to person B. So we have this letter here and we're using some sort of intermediary here. So imagine it's the postal service, whatever postal service is in your country, doesn't matter. So what person A is doing, they are entrusting this postal service to not open the letter and read it and reseal it, because you can pretty easily do that. So person B probably wouldn't be able to tell that that has happened, or person A wouldn't either. So you are trusting the postal service or whatever the intermediary is, whether the intermediary is a friend and they're going somewhere and they can give it to person B, or whether the intermediary is another company, doesn't matter. Whether it's over the internet, again, does not matter. And you want that information to be secure. But what happens if they did open it and maybe you didn't know? They've seen the information in there. It might be something insignificant like hello, how are you doing? Or it might be something like some sort of login details, or it might be something private between person A and person B. So this is where something like cryptography could come in. So you would essentially, so imagine if we have this text, hello world, using cryptography, we could secure it with some sort of key that is agreed upon by all parties. So all parties would have to agree upon this key and believe they're secure and difficult to guess. And maybe this now becomes 3, 2, 4, 5, comma, X, Z, A, D, A, E, F, G, X, 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 000 F2. This no longer resembles this. If I were to see this just as it is, I would never guess that it actually means hello world. But somebody with this key could encrypt information and get this, what essentially looks like garbage. And then somebody with this information could use the key again to decrypt it and get the original message. So there are various forms. So you could use something like a Caesar cipher, which essentially just shifts the letters of a message an X amount. So if you just shift it by 1, H will become I, E will become F, L will become M, etc., etc. That's a very basic form of encryption, but that has been used a lot, and a lot of children use it to just experiment and just get around, let's say, the average person reading it. But there are more complex forms as well. Those complex forms really don't matter, because essentially you have two main concepts, and they are encryption, which is this way. They're going from readable data to something that's not readable. And you have decryption, which is going the other way from what looks like garbage data to readable data. So essentially, cryptography transforms readable data to what looks like garbage and is unreadable to retrieve its original meaning. So this is essentially cryptography. There are two main aspects to this. So two main two main aspects that you need to know, and there's something called a cipher. The cipher is essentially the rules that are used to encode the information. So the rules in that other one, in the Caesar cipher, would be move the letters X amount in the alphabet. And you have something called a key, which allows you to actually encrypt and decrypt data, or how to actually use the rules to encode and decode information. Maybe there's several rules. In what order do you use those rules? How do you use those rules? So cipher are the rules, key is how you use the rules. So the key allows us to encrypt and decrypt data. So we use the example of a postal service. Let's just use one more example. Imagine if we have a box, and this box is secured with a padlock, and this padlock has a 4-digit pin, so a 4-digit numerical pin which has a possible combination count of 10,000. So unless you're brute forcing it, you would have to know the pin itself. So imagine if the pin is something really secure like 1, 2, 3, 4. If person A was to open this using the pin 1, 2, 3, 4, they could open it. They could maybe put a letter in there, and they could close it, and then person B, who also knows this pin, so this is another trusted party, could open it and access that information. Nobody that doesn't have the correct pin and doesn't try and brute force it could access this information. You could technically say, oh, if it's just like a general sort of safe, you might be able to physically break into it. So I'm not hack it in the way of like guessing the pin. You could maybe break into it using some sort of hammer or saw or something like that. Ignoring those scenarios, the only people that can use it are person A, B, and anyone else they entrust. Well, that's another example of cryptography or securing in the real world. And cryptography uses ciphers as a digital lock and key to encrypt and decrypt data. So we essentially replace this, so the padlock, and this. So this is essentially, you can think of this as a cipher. This is the key, and it replaces that in a digital form using mathematics to secure data. So that's what cryptography is in its core essence. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If there are any concepts that you didn't understand in the video, feel free to go over them again and just have a look. That's always the best way of learning. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next awesome lesson.